you say so, my man.
Yeah, where are the players starting?
Yeah, after the little trouble I had yesterday, this is obviously not going to be a problem for me. In the bottom left-hand side, in teal, coming into the grand final via the upper part of the bracket from China as orc is XiaoKai. And his ally right next to him, he made it into the top 4 of a WGL once. Not to be underestimated as he can play Night Elf and Human. This is 15sui. And in the upper right-hand side of White Shore, defeated just now in the one-on-one semifinal by Focus. I hope he was able to recover with the mental support of his ally. In the upper right, it is Sok. And a man that needs no introduction to anyone in the Warcraft scene. It is the runner-up of DreamHack. It is the runner-up of Rara Land. This is LawLiet.
Wow, you did the intros just in time for all the heroes to start. So great timing there. We see a Demon Hunter from LawLiet, Archmage from Sok, a Demon Hunter from 15sui, and a Farseer from XiaoKai. So very expected from all players. Everyone's playing really standard. We see the first kind of choice in terms of unit compositions from XiaoKai. He's going to be going a Troll Headhunter build with one Grunt opening. Which is going to allow him to either put on a lot of pressure in terms of harassment. It's really good for denying expos of human players, and it's also just really good for creeping. I expect probably harassment is going to be the call, but we'll see. I think the first deviation from the Night Elf human team is whether they choose to expand or whether they choose to go tier 2. I think in general, expanding is going to be a tough proposition because you're facing against the Night Elf and Orc team, which is the most aggressive team that you can face in 2v2.
Yeah, eventually we could see Immolation, we see Wolves, we see Headhunters. That is all a lot of pressure. So far, it's just creeping on the Korean team, but as expected, XiaoKai is rushing right across, and on 15sui side, no Immolation, just mana burn. Makes sense against the Ogre Magi, rushing on to a quick level 3.
Yeah, Sok has actually foregone the first Arcane Tower. It's a little late. I'm not sure if that was a mistake or whether he purposely did that and until the Farseer actually came. But because of that, his peasants are going to be a little vulnerable, and he might lose his first peasant here to Wolves.
This is pretty similar to what happened in his one-on-one versus Focus. Not the sharpest play by Sok so far, but the escape is pretty great up until now. Damage roll, not enough. Is he actually saving this guy? Oh, no. With a deny. He kills it himself, but at least no experience to the Chinese. But the pressure never stops as XiaoKai finds himself on the left-hand side against the Ancient of War.
We see the Agent of War taking a lot of pressure, but the Demon Hunter comes in. Demon Hunter is going to be very good against the Farseer. And if he can get a few burns off, it'll be tremendous. We see LawLiet, the reason this Ancient of War was so low was because LawLiet took a lot of damage creeping. But thankfully, he's able to save it. And this is actually a great trade from the human Night Elf team, as nothing was really accomplished, and the Farseer's mana pool is completely drained, which means he won't be able to do any harassment or any strong harassment in the near future, and he'll have to go home in order to kind of heal himself and get clarities so that he can even creep with wolves.
Well, XiaoKai with a nice block, putting in some counter pressure onto this DH that prevented further harass from that Farseer, and now the Chinese decide to go north once again. Keep on pressure on the Koreans. There is no expansion in this game, not even an attempt. I wonder if that was the game plan all along, or if it's just a reaction to the way XiaoKai played the Farseer here.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing, because the human Night Elf team knows that there's going to be double range from the Night Elf Orc team. He's going to be choosing to go Footmen. Footmen are very strong in against the double range combo, of course, but they really fall off late as the game goes on. So I really hope that Sok is going to be able to use these Footmen in the early game. We saw a similar game with Dark and Reaver early on in this tournament on this exact map. I believe it disconnected, but what happened there is that the Footmen were not sacrificed, and therefore in the mid and late game, Footmen were kind of just useless supply. So I hope that Sok takes the initiative and tries to make something happen with these Footmen pretty soon.
The movement kind of suggests that already, orienting himself slightly towards the south, but so far it's more scouting and distracting, and that poor footman has to bite the dust for some information for the team. Archmage closing in on level 3 with level 2 Water Elementals, not bad. On the other side we reach tier 2 with the Naga second for 15sui. So far to be expected, as LawLiet does the same.
Yeah, looks like to be pretty standard. We see Keep is reached for Sok as well. And of course, it's going to be the signature Paladin for Sok. The kind of the most distinctive feature about Sok and LawLiet is that they go Paladin second in order to have very strong team fights and in order to heal the Demon Hunter, who's going to be the main tank of this composition. But what that does mean is that when Sok is alone, he won't be able to effectively fight either the Orc player or the Night Elf player. There's a reason why in ones you don't see, oh my god, this Demon Hunter is so low. But there's a reason in ones where why in ones you don't typically see Paladin second. As our observer pointed out, this Demon Hunter almost died because he underestimated the creeps. Even though this map was picked, I don't even think the players in this game find that this map is the most familiar map in the map pool, resulting in an almost dead Demon Hunter. How embarrassing would that be?
We do see it a bit in FFA, where the players rush for the rat spots at like 3.5 minutes, but in 2-2 I wasn't familiar with that, but of course.
I think Neo might have some sound issues.
Oh.
But we can see an expansion coming up from Sok over here, going for a tier 2 expansion play, and
Sorry, I have to cut Monk off as I do have sound issues. I'm muted on Discord, but I will try to catch up and provide you with the best information as possible once I'm reconnected. You're gonna hear the lovely Monk once again. Little push into the base, the Moonwell will fall. And I hope I'm back now.
Alright, I think we both disconnected for a portion actually, but let's get back to the game.
Alright, we had a little push, but that was prevented, and we see the first expansions here on LawLiet. We also have an expansion by Sok, like 4 bases soon for the Koreans.
Yeah, not something I would typically expect, but I think because it is Whiteshore, and the expansions are somewhat far from each other, things like this can happen. We see 15sui creep-jacking Sok, and like I mentioned, the army from 15sui is going to be really strong, and because the Paladin is not a hero that is particularly effective in mid-game, I think we're going to probably see a TP, and Sok is not going to be able to take this fight.
Nobody's buying time for the Night Elf to not run north and threaten his expansion. That's a TP, who's gladly giving this up. On the left-hand side, we have LawLiet surrounded, and his Demon Hunter has an empty inventory, and now he's dead. Just barely escaped from the creeps, but XiaoKai a little better than the AI.
Did you actually see what happened to the town portal of LawLiet?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think while we were kind of disconnecting, there might have been a town portal force, or even a town portal was forced while he was creeping, perhaps?
Or it was because of this little push of XiaoKai into the base, which is what we were seeing now again with the Shadow Hunter, with the Headhunters, and LawLiet without his first hero. A little tough at the moment.
Yeah, this double expansion play is starting to seem really questionable. With both players going for being pushed in a 1v1 style, and neither player is seemingly able to hold their respective push. XiaoKai is kind of just destroying LawLiet because LawLiet is only on tier 2, doesn't have the bear tech in order to properly counter the berserkers from XiaoKai. And meanwhile, similarly, on the human side, Sok does not have the tech nor the number of units able to counter bears. You would typically want some riflemen, maybe some breakers, but we see neither of those 2 units and just a lowly 3 priest. In addition to the Paladin, which really isn't providing much.
Yeah, this is looking really grim. LawLiet's expansion is up, Sok's expansion is up. They have to hold on to get that echo advantage rolling. The Chinese not making any attempts of getting up another base. Maybe it's time to retreat, heal up, and do it now. But XiaoKai, he's just going for the throat. Alta down, and he wants to diminish this base even further. At some point, LawLiet has to move out, but he's trying to wait for his tier 3, and that is now.
All right, and unfortunately, even though you have tier 3, you don't have the bear tech. The only thing you can get is an Orb of Venom, but there's no chop even here. There's no way to retreat, and it's just the Berserkers are such a great matchup for the against the Dryads. Sok has to TP in to help his teammate, but what that does mean is Sok is going to give up his expansion. However, LawLiet also has an expansion still up, so it's actually still 3 bases to 2.
Okay, supply-wise, the Chinese are also a little bit ahead by 10. Wow, we see the Doom God with the Rain of Fire into the backline. Nice position there, AI. Well done. Sok's expansion won't last any longer, but in the long run, the Koreans will pull ahead at some point, so the clock is still ticking for XiaoKai and 15sui.
Yeah, I think a key part of Sok and LawLiet's strategy is you actually just create 2 expansions, and your opponent will scout one of the expansions easily, and they'll think, oh, like, there's no way he'll have a second expansion. But I don't know if that strategy is going to work, as XiaoKai promptly discovers LawLiet's base with 3 Moonwells in tow.
That is very nice in the defense. Additional mana. Is he He's not blocked in, is he? Don't tell me he's walled in.
Oh my god. Not the best game for LawLiet here.
No! Did he off-race too much as human? This is usually what happens to them. Oh no, this disaster has to wait for the Naga to somewhat staff him out. But man, what an opportunity for XiaoKai and 15sui to claim map 1.
It's okay, XiaoKai is doing LawLiet a favor by destroying this tree. So he'll be able to unlock this Demon Hunter, who contributes to this fight primarily first by going off on this 1 mana burn.
Yeah, great defense from this Demon Hunter, I guess, but maybe we have a saving grace now, hopefully, as Sok is retraining into Blizzard. The double expansion doesn't work, but maybe the AoE damage will, but not if LawLiet is losing this Demon Hunter again. So close, catching up.
Do we have an Ensnare? Yes, we do, and I think this Demon Hunter is going to fall down.
Oh yeah, and he hurt himself bad. Stabs him, and off the map he is. Second Demon Hunter kill after being trapped. Was a miserable life this DH is living. And now a combined attack towards Sok's base.
We have Blizzard. Blizzard's very effective at these kind of defenses, but against 2 armies, I'm not exactly sure it's going to be enough.
No, me neither. Supply lead for the Chinese as well. A counter expansion coming up for them on the back of this attack. So even if they don't eliminate Sok from this game now, they still have a huge lead with the techs, with the numbers, and with additional income.
Yeah, not only that, but because the Demon Hunter is dead, the crux of Sok and LawLiet strategy will not work. The crux of the strategy is getting the Demon Hunter in front, healing him up, and just getting an unstoppable tank in the front lines. But without the Demon Hunter to kind of be the vanguard of your forces, there's nothing that can be done here. Now we see a fight coming on. There's just a crazy team fight here. But the matchups seem really bad for both players. Berserkers against Dryads, Bears against Breakers. Neither player is just doing anything ideal right now.
Naga is dead. There was a Hail Mary attempt on the Farseer, but was saved by the Bell. And now another hero kill right there. In the north, we see the Bears of 15sui cleaning up that base, destroying the human base, but forcing a retreat once again. Demon Hunter is there, the Vanguard as you say, and the Paladin supports really, really nicely. Even a Clarity running on him for the time being. And Blizzard is once again somehow making this work, so Sok and LawLiet survive.
What a survival that is. However, 15sui has put up an expansion behind this attack, so they're actually still in a pretty good position.
I agree. The numbers are in favor of them. Shop in the middle claimed by XiaoKai once again with the tri-hero combo. TC, no Shockwave, no Stomp yet, just providing the aura, but that will change rather soon. They have pretty much everything they want. They have a sturdy front line, they got nice damage dealers in the back, they also got supporters, and the heroes are able to carry. Gonna be real tough for Sok and LawLiet to turn this around.
Now, the one thing that Sok and the Light has going for them is that they indeed do have this Archmage level 4 that is going to be kind of the carry in this game with Blizzard. If the armies get big enough, it's a situation where Blizzard really excels, and then maybe that can kind of carry the rest of the fight. However, the extra expansion that the Chinese team has is going to be a counter factor there. I don't know if Sok and the Light can stall enough and can get an equivalent army by the time like Blizzard kind of is super effective going into 60 army fights, 60 pop army fights and above.
Yeah, I think this is the all-in. We saw LawLiet buying a Warsong Battle Drums for a little bit additional damage. Only 7%, but maybe worth it. We'll see about that. But if this push doesn't work, it's looking really grim. Going for the Demon Hunter soaks up a lot of damage. Stomp in the north, so LawLiet's Demon Hunter has to be staffed out just to be safe. Super quick cancel on the Blizzard. XiaoKai and 15sui know exactly that this is the main source of damage, and they eliminate it quickly. This one lasts a little longer. Demon Hunter by 15sui has to be staffed out. Bear fight clearly dominated by 15sui. Sok coming in with a Blizzard to even the score. But man, there's nothing to even. It's just, yeah, a Chinese dominance and a 1-0 for XiaoKai and 15sui, which I guess surprises all of us a little bit.
Yeah, that game went super well for XiaoKai and 15sui. They did what I thought would kind of be the perfect counter to the Paladin, which is actually just take two 1v1 fights. The Berserker army of XiaoKai seems to be perfect against the Mass Dryads of LawLiet, and meanwhile the Mass Bears strategy of 15sui was perfect against the Paladin second and the lack of an army from Sok. So taking two 1v1s, it was just a perfect situation for the Chinese team.
Yeah, I think the Korean team there perhaps being a bit overambitious with that double expansion. It really didn't look like the best play in the world. It has to be said. Both what I really liked from the Chinese team is that they played two 1v1s and just pressured their opponents who were trying to expand. And they were basically playing with a tech advantage and an army advantage the whole time. And we saw both LawLiet and Sok getting punished big time for their expansion attempts. And yeah, from that position, what else could they really have done? The Blizzard there was nice and did the best it could, but it was not enough to get over the tier 3 of the Chinese team.
It felt kind of similar to when Starbuck and Kraft tried to double tier 3 tech yesterday, just the economy version of that play.
Yeah, pretty much. It was sort of similar in that sense for sure. This was even greedier, of course. Both players trying to expand is a little bit ambitious, let's say.
Yeah, especially on White Shore, because on White Shore, the human expansion that Sok tried to take is kind of to the side of the map. On a lot of other maps in 2v2, your expansion is in between the two bases, which allows the defense to be much easier. But because the bases were so spread apart, and there were actually 4 bases instead of 3, I think the Korean team was just too spread apart in order to do anything. When the entire crux of their strategy is involving the Paladin healing the Demon Hunter, which really we didn't really see much of. In fact, in that final fight, I saw the Paladin raise his arm and the Demon Hunter got staffed. So a little bit of miscommunication and a little bit of like players panicking while they're in the weeds.
Okay, then let's see if we get another 3-0 here at the W3Champions Championship Sunday. Hopefully not. Hopefully LawLiet and Sok know exactly what to do to turn this around, learn from their mistakes, and play it from here. It's map 2, it's Twisted Meadows.
All right, Neo, where have the players spawned this time?
Damn, I wanted to throw it to you to see if you can do it as well as I did on map 1, but since you were faster, all right, here we go. On the bottom left-hand side, spawning in the red, trying with Blizzard, but not succeeding last time. It's the best human player currently. It's Sok. His ally spawns on the left-hand side. He's playing the Night Elf. The last remaining Night Elf in the entire tournament is LawLiet. Pure Night Elf player, I say, because spawning on the upper right-hand side is a versatile human being who can play the human race and the Night Elf race. Here in the upper right is 15sui. And coming in with a razor-sharp timing on map 1, destroying the hopes of a double expansion with Berserker Headhunters. Once again with the Farseer is XiaoKai.
Right. It seems like we have the same heroes as the last game, but an interesting point of deviation, LawLiet has spawned in a position where he's able to creep the Merc camp, which will gain him access to incredibly valuable Mercs, especially against the Farseer of XiaoKai. Meanwhile, 15sui has put his Ancient of War in a very interesting position on the bottom right, which will allow him to creep the expansion and possibly go for an expansion play early. This is enabled especially because of changes to Twisted Meadows recently, where in this new Twisted Meadows, the creeps are much easier, and I suspect that we might see some immolation creeping here in order to actually finish these creeps.
Okay, yeah, we haven't seen that before, but for 15sui, it's mana burn. Maybe you're right with immolation on the left-hand side. Not ideal because there's a rock golem that is not affected by this. We do have a Shadow Priest, okay, and we have a roaming Farseer immediately on Sok again.
Yeah, we Sok on his side, he got an insane item, the Robe of the Mad Guy. That's probably one of the best items you can get in this position, and he's able to do this this Goblin Laboratory. You're able to do this laboratory because the humans spawned in this bottom left corner relative to the other players. And there's actually only one peasant that goes down from this harass, which I see as an absolute win for the human player. I always see 2 peasants going down as kind of like the break-even point. But with this arcane tower that does so much damage to heroes these days, the Farseer is unable to proceed.
Exactly. So I wonder if the Korean team wants to expand once again in the middle of the 2 bases. Would be relatively easy to defend, as the Chinese had to go cross map, and of course the connection from the 2 main bases would be quite fast. But so far it looks like the standard game that we've seen before.
Yeah, Sok is doing a great job scouting the lack of an Ancient of War from 15sui, and then promptly finds exactly where that Ancient of War is. He also promptly finds that there's no expansion from the Chinese team, which is going to be excellent from there. Meanwhile, XiaoKai, he realizes that he can't really harass the human anymore because LawLiet is kind of backing him up, so he's going to be creeping and leveling up the Farseer as well.
We do have a little bit of a later tech for Sok, but he's going Rifle Caster once again. That tech probably delayed because of defend, and you pointed it out in game 1 already, how strong Footman defend is against archers, against headhunters, and we'll see it again here on map 2.
Did he already research defend in this game?
Yes, just finished.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we're going to see an amazing push here by Sok. Getting your ally donating units to you and helping you creep your Archmage to level 3 is one of the best plays you can do in 2s, because level 3 Archmage is probably the strongest hero in early game in 2. So Sok gets that level 3, gets his Claws of Attack, gets his Robe of the Magi, and is promptly able to push the Orc base, and I believe he'll do quite a bit of damage here.
Okay, Demon Hunter again down to 50%, but not the biggest problem. Forces a town portal right away, but 15sui coming in with a nice healthy Demon Hunter. Farseer though, and right next to the shop, can go for a potion, and LawLiet has to consume the big potion that he found at the mercenary camp. Lots of damage once again on the first hero of the Night Elf, and the Footmen, they kind of struggle to kill this burrow, but at least draining resources.
Yeah, these Footmen are being such a huge distraction. The Farseer buys a potion of healing just in time, and he's able to heal himself back to a decent amount of HP, but he's a little stuck. Oh, is the Water Elemental closing this round? No, the Farseer gets out, but he's still in a bit of danger here.
Wow, this is a lot of action in very little time. This Water Elemental will be killed, so the Farseer is out of harm's way. Okay, where do we end up on? We have mercenaries on LawLiet's side. That is 30 food for him. That is the highest supply number. No expansion, and already a Scout Whiz by 15sui in the, 10 o'clock position. Archmage being chased. He has an absurd amount of damage with Claws, Double Mantle, and Robe, very, very wise old man. And this time, it's the Chinese that expand in the bottom right.
Wow. Yeah, with that push was very effective, not only because it did a bunch of damage, but also it delayed the tier 2 buildings from XiaoKai. I love this rifleman transition from Sok as well. Typically, I think a lot of newer human players, they think, oh, I either get to make rifleman or defend footman, but not both. But it's actually often a good idea to start with defend footman, especially against the double ranged army, and then transition into rifleman because your opponent is handling the melee part of the 2v2 composition. As we see Dryads starting now, but because we see tier 3, I expect Bears coming from LawLiet later on.
Exactly. You would love to go for some priests as well, but I guess with all the upgrades and the blacksmith, sanctums will be a little bit delayed, but the shadow priest can make up for the lack of healing and dispel. But I worry a little bit about the scouting from LawLiet and Sok, as they have no idea about the expansion so far.
Yeah, that being said, I think just the amount of pressure they're putting on and the fact that the Chinese team has devoted resources into putting that expansion up means that these kind of pushes are going to do just an insane amount of damage. XiaoKai is coming back to defend this push, but I think we might even get a second bird down, or possibly LawLiet or Sok might be able to kind of just beat this army in the orc base because of how strong his tier 2 army is, and also because of how much damage was done earlier in the game.
Wow, nice retreat with the Paladin, only 2 grunts attacking. Shadowhunter should be saved for now. Town Portal is coming in to the rescue, but if there's no Hex, I think he can get out with ease, or is the Paladin actually falling? The Priest is healing! He gets a grunt for his efforts. Okay, that was worth it. In the meantime, Demon Hunter by 15sui under fire found a Vamp Aura, which is always nice for some stolen HP. But man, this is craziness. The fight all over the place.
Yeah, even in the midst of these burrows, the burrows just aren't doing enough, especially against the defended footmen. Oftentimes they were actually attacking the defended footmen, so you could see some little more targeting here. Meanwhile, there's this crazy action going on throughout the entire base. We have a reveal against this Shadow Melded Shadow Hunter, and the Shadow Hunter goes down.
Ooh, both heroes here in trouble. Demon Hunter Dryads chasing the Farseer. Another TP forced. The Naga on the right-hand side is also not looking too healthy. And I feel like this push is just working. XiaoKai is at 14, 13 supply.
Yeah, XiaoKai just, and it's a GG, very early GG in that particular game. And we're at 1-1.
The curse has been broken, ladies and gentlemen. No 3-0s anymore. This is the close series that we were hoping for.
Yeah, a much better game from Sok and LawLiet there. I think that Twisted Meadows is probably a map that all the players are way more familiar with. And we saw just overall a much more standard game there. I think one of the key differences in that game was that Sok was able to defend the harass very well, and his ally donated his units to help him creep to level 3. And then with the defended footman push, the Night Elf Orc team just was not ready for that kind of push at all. This is a large part of the reason. Oftentimes, when you're facing a human team, you want to kind of change up your compositions. You don't want a double ranged army from both your players. Otherwise, those kind of things can happen. It's similar to the fact that Orc, a lot of times when they open Headhunters, they actually add in 2 grunts in 1v1. So that's part of the reason the push was so strong. In addition, because the Farseer wasn't able to harass, the Farseer actually did not hit level 3 by the time the Archmage hit level 3. And even if the Farseer hit level 3 at that time, I think level 3 Farseer is just not as strong as a level 3 Archmage for that particular timing. So a lot of things like coalesced together, and we saw just a really strong tier 2 defend footman push from Sok that really set the pace of the game.
Not much further to add to that, Monk. That was nicely summarized. Yeah, the defend footman there, just amazing against the double piercing. The Archmage with insane items, like Mantle of Intelligence, Claw, and Robe of the Magi. He was an absolute beast in applying pressure. I'm not so sure about 15sui's decision to clear the expansion first and not immediately plant the expansion, because when he tried to plant it later on, it was pretty much too late. It was never able to get up basically before the game was over, and XiaoKai suffering so much at the hands of those defend footmen. It was quite reminiscent of 4v4 gameplay. Perhaps an early reinforced defenses needs to be made the priority next time going forward. I think also LawLiet played very nicely, coming in to help Sok push twice, actually. Meanwhile, 15sui was always far behind in helping his ally, kind of late to the party, as it were. And yeah, now we have who I thought were the favorites, actually down 0-1, now getting their first map in the series.
All right, we all joined the game. The next map is pretty special, as it is Synergy, and the two bases are right next to each other. Before we go into game 3 and decide who claims match points, we thank CN for a $5 contribution towards the prize pool, Warcraft 3 Imba. That is absolutely correct, and we're on the road to 3,500, just $79 away, and I'm pretty sure you guys out there can do it. W3C finals.backtowarcraft.com. And now, Monk, can you tell me who spawned where on map 3?
Oh, I can. So in the top left, we have Sok playing as the human pieces. And directly next to him, we actually have LawLiet, of the Night Elf player. And heading back to the south of the map, we have XiaoKai spawning as the bottom right orc player. And directly next to him, we have 15sui spawning as the Night Elf player.
Damn, you learned a lot from me this weekend. Very proud of you.
I could not have done this without your expert guidance, Neo.
That's what I'm here for, 100%. Yeah, Synergy is really special in that regard. You might know this layout from a map called Friends, where it's 2 versus 2 versus 2 versus 2. We cut that in half and we came up with Synergy. Is there an up or downside for any of the race combos with the setup that we have?
I don't know if there's like necessarily... I don't know if races are particularly favored on this map, but with this map, there's kind of like two strategies you can go for in the early game. I would categorize as the first is you can expand, and often both players will creep together this expansion. And the other route that you could take is you try to fight for the middle. Especially these two goblin shops in the middle, because they drop very key watch rewards that I would argue are equally or even more valuable than the equivalent watch rewards on Turtle Rock, because they give you so much vision of the map and they give you so much intel on what is happening. So I think the ball really is going to be on Sok and LawLiet's corner, because they have the human team and they are going to be they have a human on their team and they're going to be the one who's going to dictate the pace. They're going to make the first key decision. Are they going to expand on this map, or are they going to play one base? Meanwhile, it's up to XiaoKai and 15sui to react to that, to either kind of put a lot of pressure on that expansion, or to just harass the team as they're creeping up around the map.
Okay, so far they're grouping up, they're clearing this mercenary camp, as you said. Lab opened up by Sok relatively early. We have the same hero combos once more. We have a little bit of a difference, as LawLiet was going for Immolation and has a big heal potion. This is a pretty perfect setup so far for the Korean Demon Hunter.
Yeah, from the Chinese team, we actually see the same creep route as what they did against Plato and Smurf in the semifinals. Both players are creeping together. Meanwhile, LawLiet, like you mentioned, from his perspective, he's like, I don't need a partner to creep this. I have a Demon Hunter. And this is partly why Demon Hunter has gotten so common even in 2v2. It's because you can do these like insane creep routes. Yes, you technically get a somewhat weaker Demon Hunter, but the fact that you're basically saying, hey, would I rather have a level 3 Demon Hunter with level 1 Immolation, or would I rather have a level 2 Demon Hunter with level 1 Mana Burn and level 2 or level 1 Evasion? I think everyone would rather have the level 3 Demon Hunter.
Yeah, precisely. It shifts the power spike far forward. Now it's been nerfed and it's in a good spot. I think a lot of people agree with that. Took a little while, but we got there, as with almost everything in Warcraft 3. We might have a little brawl here coming up in the middle.
Yeah, Sok is teching to tier 2, so that's like the decision being made. And in contrast to the last game, we won't be seeing defend footman. Instead, we see a double built blacksmith, which means very early rifles. So this is a very common opening from human to build 3 footmen and then transition into rifles. Basically, what's going to happen is I think there's going to be bears, there's going to be riflemen, and I think this is going to be the most straight up game that we've seen so far. All players are going to start on one base, and we're just going to have good old team fights.
Okay then, level 3 for LawLiet. Here you see the big difference in levels, and he is so tanky. Double parry ring, big heal potion. I wouldn't want to brawl with this guy. And immolation, also good against archers, despite Elun's grace. If you stand right next to them and hit them a little bit. This buys so much time for Sok to fully creep this camp.
Yeah, that was, you just see the difference between level 2 Demon Hunter and level 3 Demon Hunter, and the power of evasion. It wasn't necessarily particularly good in that fight, but the fact that he was able to leverage it to get to level 3 made all the difference in the world.
Okay, we retreat a little bit. We let the techs play out as we are soon finishing those tier 2 techs. Rifleman, always good. We have a lot of piercing damage in these armies. It's basically only piercing damage.
Yeah, I think that's going to change maybe in a couple of minutes when tier 3 goes up. I think XiaoKai is going to stay on. He's going to stay on berserkers, maybe out of bestiary. Meanwhile, I expect to see some bears, or if we're getting a little more cheeky, some mountain giants from 15sui. Although that probably wouldn't be the best decision against the expected bears from LawLiet.
It would be kind of cool though. But yeah, bears eat mountain giants for breakfast. And there's no real timing that you can hit with them, as on tier 2 they are a little bit too weak. And on tier 3, you know, the bear hard counter is there. For Sok, we have the Paladin once again. We have the Shadow Hunter for XiaoKai. Is everybody taking to tier 3 but Sok? Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, I expect we're just going to see rifle casters from Sok. And just given how I expect this game to play out, which is, again, very, very standard. We have a creep jack from LawLiet was trying to steal some creeps from the Chinese side, but we have a creep jack and he escapes with both heroes intact. But yeah, as I was saying, as how I expect this game to go, both teams playing very standard, I think this actually favors the Korean team because their strategy completely revolves around building up a very solid army, buffing up the Demon Hunter, healing him, and getting the Paladin, leveraging the Paladin aura in order to take very strong team fights. And not only that, but eventually retraining to Blizzard and just getting a lot of that AoE Blizzard damage. And I think that's going to outscale the Orc player. Both the Night Elves will have essentially the same army compositions. They're both going to have Demon Hunter, Naga, and Bears. But I think the human player in the long run is going to outscale the Orc.
Oh man, if the Chinese are not getting eaten alive by these turtles here, the crushing waves are indeed crushing. I love this camp. I want to see the dragon turtle on more maps here. But now it's all done. What do we got? Claws plus 12. Probably not what you wanted when you can get an aura in return. And a lot of healing needs to be done. That is also the case here for 2. So the first big red spot going to the Chinese, but the Koreans very close behind.
Yeah, this crushing turtle I learned the other day deals 150 AoE damage, and that's like half the HP of your trolls essentially. But yeah, we see even though the Chinese players did their creep first, I think it's going to go down to 1 creep apiece or 1 red camp apiece. Sok is struggling a little bit with these turtles, but Riflemen are pretty good. I would argue they're the strongest tier 2 range unit in the game, and they're going to be very effective at creeping.
Here we go, and LawLiet at home just defends with this behemoth of a Demon Hunter that can't be dealt with. He defends pretty much both armies. We got Hood of Cunning, okay, but level 3 for the Paladin, super important. Supply numbers, incredibly even. A little bit of creeping on the right-hand side where we have the Fountain of Health. And now, I don't know about you, but I'm ready for a big team fight.
All right. I actually, yes, I do expect a team fight, but I'm a little, I would think that at this point, someone would have tried to take an expansion. Both teams are doing, both teams are actually aren't doing the best job of scouting each other's expansions. But maybe they think, hey, why do I need to scout expansions when if there's an expansion that goes up, I'm just going to do a timing and kill my opponent. And that I think that's very likely because like both armies are so even right now. Bears are just coming up from both players, and yeah, we see another team fight here or another fight here where Sok is caught off guard, but he happily TPs out.
Yeah, and LawLiet throws a curveball because his bears look a little stoned today with mountain giants coming in. Upgrades also in the works. And yeah, but yeah, we talked about this. Like, why can you play mountain giants when there's bears involved?
Yeah, I think usually it's not the best idea, but I'm thinking the logic here might be that the Paladin synergizes really well with the Mountain Giants, and the Devotion Aura synergizes really well. Not only that, but you have still great DPS with the Rifleman, and you're going to rely on the combination of Rifleman and Blizzard in order to DPS down the bears before the bears can counter your army.
True that. We have an expansion on the right-hand side. Sneaky timing by LawLiet and Sok going for an attack. Just a little scouting going on in the main. The Chinese have to be quick to either respond to this or go for a counter expansion.
Yeah, they're going to have to make a snappy decision right away. Even the peons are being harassed, and we see at least one TP coming in.
Here we go. An AP is trying to counter the expansion on the right-hand side. TC spawning right up front. Pretty much perfect to not get a squishy hero right there. And now we'll see what we get. We have Blizzard in the mix again. Ensnare kills the Dryad immediately. This might be the first fight where we have a real front line in the mix.
Yeah, and Holy Light is just doing so much work here. The Demon Hunter from the Chinese team is taking so much damage. So is the Light's Demon Hunter, but he's able to be healed by a whopping 400 damage heal. The Mountain Giant, he's doing some work, tanking all the damage, but he's taking a lot of damage from the 3 bears that are in this army.
Oh man, but Holy Light on Mountain Giants, that's so good! Not in the fight anymore, and the Chinese push the Koreans back without too much trouble, to be honest. Mountain Giant finally falls. It forces a double TP. Paladin also saved, but now I worry a little bit about the Koreans again. That AP did a lot of work on the 3 o'clock position. The expansion was cancelled. Sok is trying now to build a town hall in the middle.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about the Korean team right now. LawLiet during that fight was banking just a ton of resources. And just right now, he's gone back to 50 food. Even after building 2 Mountain Giants that's like 700 gold in queue right now, he still has 600 gold. So I think this is a position where it's going to be a standstill. I don't think either team is going to be able to outpush the other team. And I expect to see some kind of lull here as both teams are putting up their expansions up.
Pretty much the closest game that we've had all weekend in the 2s, as everything before was rather one-sided, even though this series goes back and forth. XiaoKai with the town portal, heal scroll, both are very well equipped, I would say. And you were right with the stalemate. Another Wisp scouting the left-hand side. The AP is making sure that nothing is happening on the right-hand side. The middle is occupied by Town Hall and Tree of Life.
Yeah, given that it's going to be the stalemate, I still say that I think the team with the human player is going to scale a little better in the late game, despite being on tier 2 versus the Orc's tier 3. Orc just doesn't have too many options in order to scale. For example, you could go Torn, but that kind of overlaps with the functionality of the bears from 15sui side. You could go Bloodlust, but that gets countered super hard by breakers. The one option I might like to see here is from the Orc is Witch Doctors. Even though they're rather uncommon in 2s, I think if the game goes late enough, Witch Doctors can be incredibly powerful because it's very hard to dispel healing wards, and oftentimes even scout wards in the late game. Just because like the wards are placed so far back in the army when you have 480 food armies.
Not a bad idea. This is a long tech tree, as we would need a lodge for that, plus the adept upgrade and the master upgrade. That's always a little downside of the witch doctors. You could go for a lot of upgrades on the orc side. That is expensive, but we see the 3-0 already. Devotion Aura was found as well, so there's a tiny little upgrade on defense as well. And for the orc army in general, we get steel armor, while also 15sui is now moving into mountain giants. Have you ever seen a mountain giant mirror? It's fun.
Fun is not exactly how I would call that battle, but yes, Neo, it can be fun. One interesting part about this map is that there are marketplaces on the map, and during these like turtley mid games or on this map, you often find both players trying to buy all the auras. We saw LawLiet actually bought Unholy Aura from the shop, from the marketplace over there, and that's going to give him a pretty strong advantage in this fight.
Okay, here we go. We have another big fight brewing. 4 mountain giants for LawLiet. This blizzard is pretty good, not countered. We don't have any raiders here. Stomp on the TC, very nice. Dispel on the illusion. Paladin is ready with the Holy Light. The Demon Hunter is right next to him. Demon Hunter by LawLiet actually in trouble. Needs to go for this health stone. Oh, saves it for later. Now the Archmage would love to have a sip from these Moonwells, but is not allowed to. Needs to cast more blizzard. These bears still a threat at the south of this fight. Naga tanking a lot of blizzard, but the Demon Hunter is standing there like a mountain. Now the heal stone consumed, needs a Holy Light soonish. Almost surrounded there, but again, the Moonwells are ready.
Moonwell's doing so much work here. The Paladin is doing so much extra duty. He's trying to heal everything up, trying to top everything up. But the Moonwells are able to heal the Demon Hunter. This fight is kind of crazy. The Riflemen are kind of out of position, kind of focused down key targets, but also being taunted by the one mountain giant from 15sui's side. Archmage and the human army is retreating a bit. And it's just a bunch of mountain giants smacking each other in the face.
Oh man, we love this next blizzard, and it's again doing so much. The Paladin always has a Holy Light ready, Invul Potion on the TC, but the Fork Lightning eliminating all 3 targets. Bears are just getting demolished with all this piercing damage, and the blizzard! Oh no, XiaoKai, move your headhunters! Not in that way! Ay, 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 that was brutal! TC, no mana anymore, getting saved by the bell. Supply numbers still pretty even. This could switch if a few mountain giants are falling. 7 supply unit. Looks like the dust is settling at least a little bit. Tiny exchanges. But yeah, now we got a town portal out. Whoa, that was pretty crazy. Demon Hunter escapes without a town portal. That's some resources saved. But looking at the supply, it's still very even.
Oh wow! I actually thought in the beginning of the fight, it was kind of looking pretty decent for the Chinese team, and the reason for that is because neither of the Demon Hunters were in position to burn each other, which I actually think favors the Chinese team. The Paladin and the Archmage were being burned, whereas the Orc Tauren Chieftain was being burned as well. And I think in general, especially the Archmage is probably one of the, if not the most valuable hero in that fight, and there weren't as many blizzards as there could have been. So the start of the fight, it was actually looking pretty decent for the Chinese team, but I think the quick reinforcements from the Korean team pulled their weight. The Moonwells did amazing work. They're super upgraded. They're super Moonwells, and they healed the Demon Hunter for his full HP many times over. So just all those factors, the defender's advantage of the Korean team really kind of made all the difference.
Nice analysis right there. We have a little specialty of synergy. We have a Fountain of Health, which is obviously wonderful for mountain giants. A little transition, 2 transitions actually, for XiaoKai. We have seen Envenomed Spears for possible Wyvern, and we see Demolishers. I don't hate that at all. I'm not sure if we have Burning Oil ready, but adding a little ground AoE to the mix is not the worst thing that could happen.
The Demolishers can be an okay choice, especially since they share the same upgrades with the Berserkers. And I think in the short term, the Demolisher is actually going to be pretty good. However, we see a workshop coming up from Sok, and the mortar teams that the SOC can get, which will have the same range upgrades, I think will scale even better. That being said, there's a fight going on right now, and this might be even the last fight, as we can see, just like you predicted, Mountain Giants smacking each other in the face.
It's clobbering time. Let's go. The Blizzard is hitting a lot of these headhunters once again. Heal waves, heal scrolls will absolutely be necessary, but the focus fire on the Demon Hunter might be a little bit too much for LawLiet. Also, the front line not really established with that focus fire on the Tree of Life. TC again being burned. The demos, wonderful damage in the bag, but yeah, not the strongest of upgrades we see. Kodo being nuked. Man, this Mountain Giant mirror is just peak Warcraft. Can please all units have so much HP and so little damage, or the fight lasts forever? That would be gorgeous, but the Koreans TP out, at least Sok is, and good luck running away with MGs.
Oh no, the Demon Hunter gets hexed. When Demon Hunter goes down, that was the crux of the army, and the Chinese team is going to push in with the demos. They're able to break these towers, and oh man, what a crucial mistake from the Korean team.
Oh man, this is gnarly now. Such a nice defensive position for the siege unit with the burning oil poking into this base. Also maybe an overcommitment by LawLiet and Sok with these MGs going straight for it, but hold on. Demon Hunter, staffed out by the Naga, saved by the Bell. Paladin needs to do some heavy lifting. Same for the Archmage, but he was too far forward, courtesy of casting that Blizzard over and over. Now he's almost out of mana. He has to chew through these Mountain Giants to stand a chance.
Yeah, the Demon Hunter from the light comes back from the tavern. The Demon Hunter from 15sui comes back from his base, so we're having the Demon Hunter showdown again, which I believe will favor the Korean team, as again there is a Paladin with a Clarity Potion on him now, and the Moonwells are quite nearby, so this push looks like it's getting held once again.
XiaoKai is suffering big losses in the south. This Demon Hunter with Immolation standing in the middle of everything, getting 3-4 kills in quick succession. Archmage Blizzard adding on top of it. Demon Hunter for 15sui has to be staffed out for the second time. Of course, they don't have a nice Paladin. They only, quote-unquote, have a Shadow Hunter, but everything is about to die or break for XiaoKai. And this push, again, a little overcommitment. XiaoKai down to almost 50 food, but on the back of all these fights, we established another base on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's going to be their one advantage, as because Sok has hit tier 3, he's going to have all the super units, the dominating units in this game. He's going to have the Knights to counter the Mountain Giants, and he's going to have the Mortars, which are going to do just a ton of DPS to all the medium armor units, including the Mountain Giants and Berserkers from XiaoKai and 15sui side. It actually makes me question. I just saw a Rifleman in queue and Rifleman finish, and Riflemen are probably not the unit that you want in this situation. You probably want Knights, you probably want the Mortars, but the Riflemen feel like they're somewhat dead weight at this point. In fact, the last push that happened from the Korean players with just the mass Riflemen, I felt like was a little ill-advised, as I think just, again, the human player just scales better than the orc player in this situation. And I would prefer that they just waited instead of pushing with just mass Riflemen against potentially 5 or 6 Mountain Giants, where they're going to be fairly impotent against.
Okay. We're ending up on 160 supply, but XiaoKai is lacking behind a little bit. We get a Blood Mage third, we got Inner Fire, we probably got Frag Shards at this point. This human army, there was so much potential throughout the entire game, and they finally reached the tier 3 just as you described it. We have 10 Armor Knights without the Devotion Aura, that's pretty good. We got 97 max damage on the Mortar team with huge AoE that also works super well in combination with Blizzard against the Mountain Giants. And once the big front line is gone, I see pretty grim for the Chinese. It's clobbering time. Oh my god, the siege damage of MGs. What a beauty.
Yeah, he's gonna kill this expansion and then promptly TP back in, and we're gonna see an 80 food fight from all players.
Okay, XiaoKai a little bit behind in that. Will we see Inner Fire Mountain Giants? We absolutely do. Oh, it's gorgeous. This is 20 armor. on 1,600 HP. This is undefeatable, I guess, but maybe the burning oil in the back, maybe the frag shards can do some work. There's so much seeds damage, so much AoE damage. Is there even enough heal? An alchemist would go a long way, of course, but for that it's too little and too late. TC saved to the left-hand side. Demon Hunter in the middle of everything, tanking the entire human army. This game is about to be decided here.
Yeah, we have just tons of spells going off all over the place. Blizzard doing a ton of work against the Mountain Giants. Oh, the Archmage was at low HP, but he gets a heal from the Paladin. Meanwhile, the Blood Mage is basically at 40 HP, and the Paladin just is doing so much. Hex on the Naga, but she was healed as well by the Moonwells. And it seems like it still can be anyone's fight at this point.
Oh man, there's a few invo potions. The heal scrolls are all gone. TC saved by that potion. Another Holy Light saving the Archmage for the bazillionth time. Mountain Giants clobbering each other. Mortar team shooting. But Sok, everything is quite hurt for him. Can the Koreans clean this up and defend one more time after taking out the base on the right-hand side? It's their lifeline. Even the gold workers are coming into the mix. LawLiet closing in on level 6 here, being saved again. This Paladin MVP of the map.
Yeah, this Paladin has gotten so many heals off. Archmage has hit level 5, which means we're going to see a level 3 Blizzard. And I think, like in one of the very first fights, Blizzard is going to carry the remainder of the fight. The front lines are all badly bruised and damaged. And once again, the Chinese team has to retreat.
But they took out the base. Sok lost the expansion. On the back of this fight, the Mountain Giants had the sticks in their hands and took out the third base, and we already see LawLiet is not mining from his main anymore. The mains are about to expire. Just a little bit of gold left.
Yeah, I think with this push, they are somewhat all in. They're going to have to at least kill this expansion in order for the game to even up. We actually see, interestingly enough, 15sui is actually at 85 supply at high upkeep. Meanwhile, his partner is actually only at 50 supply, so quite an imbalance of the army there.
Yeah, and I guess the upkeep doesn't matter too much anymore if nobody's mining, because that is now the case. But if LawLiet and Sok hold this choke with 20.5 armor MGs, there's no way that XiaoKai and 15sui can stop this Tree of Eternity.
One thing I like to note is that throughout that entire last fight, Sok was producing nothing but riflemen, and I don't know if that's the best decision. We see, Naga is being targeted and snared. The TP is passed though, so I suspect that she'll be fine. A crucial Holy Light goes down, which means the Naga is going to be perfectly fine. Demon Hunter is being focused. He retreats, gets a Holy Light on himself, and Blizzard is just raining down ice onto all the Mountain Giants.
Ice, baby. The demos are surprisingly still in the mix, doing lots of AoE in the north, but also the Blizzard hitting these headhunters. They're so fragile. 42 supply only left, but the Heroes of the Orc, probably the strongest late game combo there is. No level 5s yet. You could need that so well. Demon Hunters, when will we see Metamorphosis? Still ways off for 15sui. That won't save them. Can anything save them?
Yeah, it seems like we're counting down to the last minutes. Funnily enough, even though the Chinese team looks fairly desperate, 15sui actually still has 81 supply.
Yeah, a lot of Mountain Giants, of course, a lot of them. Raiders being electrocuted. XiaoKai continues to suffer. It is down to the hero arena for him, more or less. LawLiet still holds so many MGs, same for 15sui. But it has to be the knockout punch. Actually, Sok really low as well. He has no gold to be working with anymore. Invo potion, maybe the last time. The Chinese hold and push LawLiet and Sok back again.
Well, we'll see. The Demon Hunter's getting real low. It gets staffed back, and I honestly I can't tell what's going on in this fight.
Me neither.
But all the mana from the Archmage is completely dry, which means no huge comeback players. Oh, Demon Hunter! Oh, he has an invul pot.
God, this is so crazy. This is 2-2 at its absolute best. This is probably Warcraft at its absolute best. Where does this game go? It all comes down to execution. No more economy advantage. No more mass really advantage. Paladin, careful. He has nothing to heal himself with. No devotion or no divine shield, of course. Mana burn over and over and over. And the mana war, of course, being won by the Koreans thanks to that Blood Mage.
Not only the Blood Mage, but the Archmage with his Brilliance Aura is doing just wonders for the entire team. Oh, Demon Hunter from LawLiet. Oh, he gets a Holy Light, but he's still stuck in a corner. Is there a staff? Yes, Staff of Preservation saves the Demon Hunter. Oh, and a Banish on the Demon Hunter. Banish Holy Light combo to heal him even further.
So sick. In the meantime, the TC finally fell. He was so close to dying many, many, many times. There was always a heal wave, a staff, an invo potion. Not this time. Little bit of an overcommitment, but if you have the chance to kill a DH, then you try it. You have to try it at this stage of the game. We have a combined 100 food for the Chinese. We have 120-ish for the Koreans, and now they're about to knock down this Tree of Eternity.
Yeah, and I think with this tree going down imminently, that will be the last nail in the coffin, as there would be no income from the Chinese team. The Chinese team is making their last stand right now, putting everything they've got.
A beautiful game. It's maybe coming to its end. Can Ultimate save them? 15sui not making any progress anymore. There's nothing really to kill anymore. He can't reach the Rifleman without being targeted. He's going for the Archmage, but that's not the biggest blow. We have a level 3 Holy Light on 20 Armor Mountain Giants. The sustain is just absurd. And LawLiet's Demon Hunter closing in on the Metamorphosis. Will he even need it? Not really sure. Inner Fire on everything. The Chinese are stemming against the defeat, but it seems hopeless at this point.
Yeah, just crazy battle going on. All heroes are very low HP. Everyone has staffs. Some teams have Holy Light. A staff yet again, but the Tree of Eternity is right there, which means the Demon Hunters just get staffed half a screen away. The Farseer goes down, and a Farseer, any hero going down at this point means they can't be revived, and we see the GG coming from the Chinese team yet again.
Beautiful Warcraft.
Warcraft at its finest, as you said, Neo. A 30-minute game here on Synergy. That was just insane. You were looking at 20.5 armor MGs. I was looking at the 21 armor of that Demon Hunter on the LawLiet side as well. Just the effective HP through the roof. Guys, what an amazing match to watch. That was so back and forth. We saw so many pushes from the Chinese team being pushed back by the Koreans. And in the end, the Koreans able to actually end the game and their counterattack. How do you top that match, guys?
Well, hopefully with map 4 and 5, as there's more Warcraft to be played here. Match points for LawLiet and Sok. Can you even analyze this 30-minute epic?
I don't think in a short time, Neo, that's for sure. That was just an epic match all around. I think everyone went for the correct unit compositions. For example, we saw XiaoKai go for the Demolishers, which was a great addition. 3-0 upgrades. They had plus 49 damage with Roar and the Kodo Aura doing about an average of like 160 damage per hit. It was insane. That Town Hall from Sok just evaporated against 2 demos on their push. The MGs, of course, the Mortar teams, the Inner Fire, everything was working together brilliantly, synergistically. The Blood Mage third as well was a nice addition from Sok. I think 15sui and XiaoKai did a good job setting up their additional bases as well during one of their pushes. But in the end, they kind of just got outscaled. Unfortunately, the Human-Elf combination, they're enough unbeatable in the late game. Perhaps if XiaoKai was able to get up towards 80 food, maybe like 6 or 7 catapults, that would have been perhaps a deal breaker there.
Yeah, one thing I really liked from XiaoKai and 15sui is that they saw that their opponents were going for a heavy armor strategy. So in order to counter that, we didn't point it out in the middle of the game, but they actually had 4 Orbs of Venom, which completely counteracts or ignores the armor. And that was a large part of why there was so much damage being dealt despite the tons of armor. And also, I'd like to note that from Sok's side, I felt like in the late game, a harder transition to Knights would have been a more appropriate given the Mountain Giant and the Berserker heavy combination from the Chinese team. But I can see his logic in continuing to produce Riflemen as they were upgraded 3-1, whereas the Knights would have been just 0-0.
Yeah, also maybe the Knights would overload the the front line, because you have so many MGs ideally, and they're the perfect tank anyway, and you can only have so much melee on a map.
Yeah, you were talking about overlapping functionality, Monk, and that is kind of what we saw there a little bit. The Knights a little bit redundant in their use. I'd have liked to see a full Scottish dwarven army of just rifles and mortars dealing maximum DPS while being supported by those MGs.
Okay.
You're all about the DPS, Qubert.
That's me.
All right, guys, this is match points for LawLiet and Sok. They could become the first 2v2 champions since season 6 of the War3Champions finals. One more to go, and it is a map that I know LawLiet dearly loves. This is a map with some crazy mercenaries. This Shattered Exile.
And Neo, I suspect that you want me to introduce the players yet again. So on the top left, in the teal, we have Sok, the human player. He went down 0-3 against Focus earlier today, but he wants to take some dearly needed revenge in this game. And his teammate in the bottom left, we have LawLiet with an Ancient of War by the Goblin Laboratory. In the bottom right, we have XiaoKai opening up with Standard Barracks. Will we see a War Mill next? And on the top right, we have 15sui with a Demon Hunter yet again. So first deviation I see is no War Mill actually from XiaoKai, which means he'll be primarily opening with Grunts, and he might actually stick to Grunts in this particular game.
Huh, okay. What would make that change?
I think because this is a similarly smaller map as Twisted Meadows, and in Twisted Meadows, that was a game where he was like very promptly pushed with Defend Footman. I think a Grunt opening could make him more resistant to a Grunt a Footman push. So that might be one reasoning for why he would open Grunts.
All right, let's see if you're right. Shattered Exile, very, very cool map in my opinion. Would have loved to see it more in the one-on-one department. Laboratories right next to a gold mine that provides space and opportunities for some sappers. We also have poison creeps at the mercenary camps pretty much right away. Very effective, and there's probably gonna be a race for them at the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock position, but first we gotta weather the storm. This is Sok trying to fast expand, and XiaoKai does what a Farseer does best and harass it immediately.
Yeah, typically a fast expand is fairly risky, but because of the positioning of this base relative to the starting position, it's actually not so bad, as the Demon Hunter can help you defend against this Farseer harass, and just an excellent defense here, where there were actually no peasants that died, and the Farseer is already at very low health, which is a very crucial resource for the Orc player, and he's taken a mana burn, which means he's at very low mana as well.
But the Farseer stole the big creep. That was a super nice last hit from Farseer and Wolf together. So 92 XP for him, halfway level 2 and preventing the Brilliance Aura. So at least some accomplishments here.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we don't see we see attack instead of an expansion from the human player, from Sok. And he's going to go for the very stable Rifleman mid-game again.
That worked out well the last time, and if you see a little bit of an opportunity, then expand. Probably a lot about the assassins before, and a little bit of shop control as well. We have scouts coming, we have scout towers coming. You are absolutely right on with the rifle builds, and the demon hunters chase each other. So far, LawLiet, there's no build deviation this time, right? No, so both are going with mana burn and evasion, both pack a punch. And we play the game from here.
Yeah, so one deviation from previous games is both Night Elf players have actually put up an expansion, but the expansion from LawLiet is taking a ton of damage, and I expect it's going to fall right now. So right now we have actually the Chinese team with an expansion advantage in terms of building expansions, but LawLiet promptly puts one back up, and it looks like we're going to be seeing a macro game yet again.
Alrighty, let's see if the Koreans can get revenge and kill the tree. As I said, there's 2 laboratories right next to it, so you can play a little Bomberman, especially when when Nature's Blessing isn't researched. But man, 15sui is having a good early game, threatening the Tree of Life again. This time, not as successful as before, but he got the knowledge about the second attempt.
Yeah, so this time, the one deviation here is that XiaoKai, because he's opening grunts, the grunts themselves actually, I expect, will scale even worse than the Headhunters did in the previous game. And in the previous game, we saw just the Night Elf Orc team was just being outscaled in the late game. So I'm wondering, what is the plan here in order to take an actually even or advantageous fight in the late game when you know you can't go into the late game you can't head into the late game with an advantage. We saw some harassment of the opposing Tree of Life from LawLiet, but no damage was done. And from now on, it seems like we're going into a relatively passive game.
Looks like it indeed. Maybe XiaoKai and 15sui are thinking, okay, if we expand now, we can build an army for the late mid game or early late game and overwhelm you before you get the crazy combos that we've seen here on Synergy. And if we delay your expansion long enough, we will find that timing, and they find the way once again. Demon Hunter, nice damage alongside the Naga. That's getting a little problematic economically for LawLiet and Sok.
Yeah, crucially, the expansion from LawLiet and Sok was cancelled. The armies were slightly out of position, and unfortunately, they're going to be down 1 expansion. At the same time, the Orc is doing a ton of damage here. The Orc was able to creep to level 3, which is a huge advantage from the level 2 Farseer Wolves, and because he opened with 4 grunts, he's actually able to cancel both the Ancients of Lore from LawLiet.
Nice timing, man. This is quite a revenge from XiaoKai and 15sui so far on map 4. Paladin is out, and so are the rifles, and then he will be able to deal with the Night Elves in no time. But here it is, split footman across the tree, and the tree grew, but it's not entangled, this gold mine, yet.
Yeah, I love this play from the Chinese team here. They were able to use a solo Demon Hunter to keep both heroes and both armies of the Korean team at bay, and able to creep up the Orc player. And with these grunts, I said they don't scale particularly well into the late game. Well, they're very good right now at this point. So I love that the XiaoKai is pushing the momentary advantage he has right now, and just killing, delaying so much stuff. Even able to get this Goblin Shredder, maybe that's going to be a huge kill, as the Goblin Shredder is worth almost 400 gold.
Exactly, tons of resources going into this Shredder and not gonna work. What a beautiful game this is, working into the power spikes, using their armies perfectly, sending the Raider who's almost dead back just for an end snare. Oh no! That Demon Hunter is forced into a town portal because of that second end snare, playing so well around the cooldown, and there's no shop, there's no Moonwell.
Yeah, but so the human player has to come in, and the Paladin gets a heal and saves his ally. What great teamwork here from Sok. If he had not TP'd in that very moment, the Demon Hunter would have been goners.
Nice display of how teamwork is, of course, very, very important in 2-on-2. And after a couple of failed attempts of that Tree of Life, Sok takes matters into his own hands, builds a town hall, and all of a sudden we got a pretty even economical situation.
Yeah, even though it's an even economic situation, I would still drastically favor the Chinese team, as they just have a huge army advantage. Judging from the timing of those raiders and the swiftness at which Ensnare was researched, I think the Korean team can surmise that this is a double bestiary build, which means that it's going to be very powerful at this particular stage, but it's going to fall off later on. Especially given that LawLiet has mass dryads, it means that LawLiet cannot fight the Chinese player on his own. So I love what we're seeing from Sok and LawLiet right here, which is they're grouping up, as they are going to be much better in a team fight rather than 1v1. Not only because the Paladin is not good in 1v1 fights, but also because the bottom side matchup vastly favors the Chinese team.
Okay, let's see if XiaoKai and 15sui can find a way into the human expansion, because there's not too many defenses yet, and raiders are absolutely wonderful, but with the second base up, they can afford quite some town portals. That's exactly what Sok is doing. LawLiet trying to flank from the left-hand side with the Keeper even. Perfect reaction to that raider play.
Oh, wow. Keeper is something that I certainly didn't expect here. Keeper drastically falls off later on. Compared to, I expected more of a Naga, but actually, now that I think about it, the Keeper kind of makes a bit more sense. Now that the early mid game has kind of passed, you can get the Keeper to kind of control enemy units, especially because there's no dispel from the Orc player on the bottom side. And also because there's going to be mass melee units, I think you can actually expect the Thorns aura to be very good here. So 3 auras from the Korean side. Meanwhile, we have this huge fight from the top side. And the Sok is just destroying XiaoKai.
Pretty easy so far, but now they're grouping up with a lot of bears, and that marks the retreat. Paladin will probably survive. He does. We've seen Shockwave already, so the Chinese in pure Chinese ladder player fashion going for building destruction here.
Yeah, the longer this game goes on, the more I worry for the Chinese team, as these raiders are just really not going to scale. And not only that, but the Chinese team is doubled up on melee units, which means that if they fight in a very small choke, especially against the potential inevitable Blizzard retrain, that's going to be potentially devastating.
Okay, Sok and LawLiet probably 5 to 10 minutes away from becoming the best 2-2 team in the world of W3Champions. Can they hold this push? I mean, the fighting army is really not that strong, but the levels on the Korean team also not the greatest.
Yeah, I don't know about this transition either from XiaoKai into Mass Weapon. Oh my god! Sappers being positioned, and there's no Nature's Blessing, which means this tree is gonna go down. Amazing play by LawLiet.
Oh man, this is what Foggy did to Happy in W3Champions Finals 1-on-1 before LawLiet exploited that laboratory as well. And now it's a 3-base, 2-base situation, but what about LawLiet's base? Can he hold here? Should be relatively easy. The Wyvern transition, probably not that effective. And it's looking grimmer and grimmer.
Yeah, that being said, because this is a 1v1 fight, I think XiaoKai is actually doing really well relative to his actual army strength. The Raiders are getting a great matchup versus the Dryads, and even the Wyvern are doing pretty well as well.
Oh, Keeper. Invo Potion. Shockwave before he gets burned, but not much damage to be done. And now this is gonna be a team fight. Sok has the TP. He needs to position himself defensively. Keeper in trouble. Least important hero, I guess. But this time the Paladin wasn't able to heal at all. Everything is collapsing on LawLiet's base, and the End-Snares are flying against the Blizzard.
Yeah, Archmage is taking a ton of damage. Archmage actually goes down because the Paladin couldn't use his mana potion in order to heal him quickly enough. Paladin bought another TP in order to reposition once again, and he repositions to this tiny corner, but it looks like the Korean team doesn't have the army count in order to take this fight.
It was of course expensive to go for the 2 sappers. That money was invested into the Chinese army. They called for the game. We thought the Koreans are far, far ahead, but the sapper play didn't win the game. It was the combined attack into a split push, into a 2-2, and we go full distance, baby.
Yeah, we couldn't have asked for a more exciting grand finals. Every game so far has been a banger. Quberte, what did you think about that last game?
Yeah, so perhaps you guys were thinking the Koreans were ahead in this game. I think they were doing okay, but the crucial aspect of that was LawLiet's expansion was way later than 15sui's. 15sui was able to get up to tier 3. He had the Shredder online, he had the Expo online far earlier, double lowers, and LawLiet was on tier 2 for such a long time and struggled so much economically in terms of lumber. As a result, was basically stuck on Dryads the entire game. And as you were pointing out, Monk, the matchup for the Raiders and the Wind Riders there were just too much for LawLiet to handle. He couldn't withstand his own 1 versus 1, which is tough anyway, as their team combination performs better as a team, you know, in 2v2 engagements. XiaoKai, once again, being the bully with that army composition, just wrecking LawLiet. And yeah, Sok unable to do much himself. He was decent in a 1v1 as well, but combined, when their forces were combined, XiaoKai and 15sui had way more.
All right, that means
Yeah,
we're getting.
I think the crucial point there was that the Chinese team was able to split the two players up, and when the two players are split up, they're very weak individually, especially LawLiet in that particular game because of everything you just mentioned, Hubert.
Qubert, any final thoughts on the final map of the 2-on-2 competition?
Final map, guys. It's almost a shame to see it come to an end. This game mode has provided us with such a joyous matches. I'm kind of unsure who's going to take it, honestly. I was writing off 15sui and XiaoKai a little bit as the underdogs here, but they have proven that they can hang with the top dogs, playing really, really well throughout the series. I'm going to have to switch my prediction here and say that the Chinese team will take it.
Really? Is there nothing the Koreans can do against this super aggressive raider play?
I think LawLiet, perhaps, if he wants to get that expansion up, it needs to come up on time. It can't be delayed like this. Perhaps they need to play a little bit more around that expansion being established. Apart from that, need to survive and scale up into the late game, just like they did on Synergy.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you agree?
Yeah, I find that a lot of the times when when game losses happen due to canceled expansions, the crucial mistake in twos is that the players who got their expansion canceled did not have a proper vision of approach paths to the expansion. A sneaky demon hunter or a sneaky army sneaks by and is able to just be on top of your expansion, and you don't have the reaction time in order to get your army to the proper location. So I'd like to see maybe a little better scouting in terms of knowledge of where the army is at all times.
Okay, the last map's gonna be Tidewater Glades, probably not immediately as expansion heavy as we've seen before, but as like whenever I saw this map, it was pretty late game heavy. Is my limited knowledge about 2-on-2 maps correct here?
I would say that it's hard to take an expansion on this map incredibly early because the expansion creeps are just so difficult relative to a lot of other maps. So I think typically what we see is just fighting for creeps in the mid game. Specifically, there's like a triangle of creeps in the bottom right and the top right. There's two triangles, one on the bottom right and one on the top left. And what generally happens is one team will two teams will either split the triangles or they fight over the triangles. So that triangle is created by the Goblin shop, and the two expansions, respectively. But would you do the honors, Neo, of introducing the starting positions of this final game as the host?
I was about to ask Qubert for his final thoughts, but okay, if you want some time, let's get it on. Let's decide who's the best 2-on-2 team on War3Champions Season 14. We got China versus Korea, so much is clear, but where are the players? At the bottom left-hand side, the representing the Orcish Horde, doing very, very well with the Raiders here, is XiaoKai. Right next to his ally at the 6:30 o'clock position, playing the Night Elves very, very well. Let's see if he's going for a Demon Hunter. He absolutely is. He's a young gun. He's 15sui. Not on one side, purely with the Night Elves. No, he finds himself on one lane with the strongest human on the planet. It's the B-boy. It's Sok. And his ally, of course, couldn't get past Sok in the quarterfinal of the one-on-one competition, but they joined together and they're just one map away from the big championship. On the upper left-hand side, it's LawLiet.
So once again, we have the exact same heroes from both players. One thing I'd like to point out here is there might be a bit of metagaming here. We saw the Farseer chosen as the Orc hero of choice on every single game. And on this map, Blade Master can actually be somewhat strong because the Blade Master can buy a speed scroll and creepjack this Merc camp, which can be very devastating and could possibly steal a lot of creeps. But I think partially because we've seen Farseer every single game, and partially because the human player can creep alongside the Night Elf player, the there doesn't need to be a fast-built altar, which is actually somewhat common on this map for a human player against an orc opponent. This is excellent play from both teams, from especially from Sok and LawLiet. Sok, LawLiet used his Ancient of War to help creep the Archmage up for faster creeping, but didn't steal any of the experience, which means that the Archmage got level 2 very quickly, and there was no XP stolen, and the Archmage is really going to be the carry early game.
Alrighty. Fastia is doing some damage in the main. We see the first mercenary here, the Dark Troll Shadow Priest. Does this guy... Or is this guy able to dispel?
No, this guy can't dispel, but the other two mercs are very good on this map. You have the Dark Troll Berserker, which is basically the same thing as a regular Berserker, and then you have a Giant Wolf, which it's basically like a Huntress with Grunt type armor, so a super fast Grunt with critical strike, and it's super OP.
Okay, that sounds pretty good indeed. Just like XiaoKai's harass, taking care of one of the militia. Sok not microing that to the side, buying time for the tower as the two armies are grouping up. Demon Hunter is trying to, oh my god, creep this Furbolg, but he's getting caught with 50% HP and still against the Furbolg. That was a little ambitious here, maybe.
Yeah, with both armies, or all four armies actually here, but only two heroes. This is actually a very funny fight. And we actually see, because the Farseer has reinforced and joined this fight, and the other Demon Hunter has joined this fight, it's actually the entire army of both players in here. Is this Archmage is so close to level 3, and he gets burned, which is pretty crucial. As if he gets level 3 and he gets able to summon a level 2 Water Elemental, that can make all the difference here.
Nice save on the Chinese side. We get more mercenaries added to the mix. The Koreans decide they want to keep on brawling, despite not having level 3 and giving up that spot in the left-hand side. It was a big investment into this harass as they couldn't continue creeping. They are down a lot of levels now.
Yeah, interestingly enough, we saw a 24 food 2 farm tech from the human player, so he's going to be able to get his units very quickly, his tier 2 rather quickly, and we're going to see the paladin very quickly. The LawLiet's Demon Hunter is forced to exit the battle because there's so much damage being put on him, but it looks like, at least for now, Sok is going to win the engagement in the middle. That being said, however, the main advantage of winning the battle in the middle is you are able to get the access to the tavern and the Naga. But Sok and the Korean army cannot hold the middle, so I think both Nagas are going to be able to be fought. Sok is going to do a little more creeping and crucially hit level 3 very quickly.
Yeah, he's needed at home because XiaoKai and 15sui, they're collapsing on poor LawLiet. He has some mercenaries, some archers, but that's about it. Tier 2 has been reached, waiting for the lures. No expansions yet, as we suggested, but for XiaoKai, he's moving back to the strategy of the early games. Tier 3 with headhunters, no grunts to be seen, no mass raiders, and we're getting late game ready.
Yeah, what I expect to see here is both players or all four players are going to try to hit ideal 50 food armies, and there's maybe one team will put it up in expansion, and there might be a team fight later on. We see Sok and LawLiet, the Korean team, creep-jacking this base. We see a level 3 Demon Hunter versus a level 1 Demon Hunter. That's going to make a huge difference. The Farseer is really low, but he has a greater healing potion, which he promptly uses. The army from the Korean team is really overwhelming, though, and especially with the Paladin coming in to reinforce, the Chinese team has to retreat here, and they're taking humongous losses in their retreat. Crucially, this Troll Berserker and a lot of Headhunters have gone down.
Oh, sick hacks to counter the damage to save the TP, but you're absolutely right. They bit off a little more that they could chew here on the left-hand side. Wonderful timing by LawLiet and Sok, who keep up the pressure as well, despite the over-leveled heroes. Oh, Demon Hunter closing the door, being hexed once again. FS! Can he reach? Oh, there's a town fort.
LawLiet has boots, but the hex is crucial here, and the Farseer is able to survive.
Oof. Okay, we survived the mid-game as well. So action-packed. Level 3 Demon Hunter, not the sole carry. Archmage level 3 as well. Very empty inventories across the board. We just continue brawling.
Yeah, because Sok and LawLiet have mid-game control, they're threatening to take all the creeps on the Chinese team side, which is prompting the Chinese team to try to engage again, but the army just looks like relatively weak compared to the mass tier 2 rifles, which are the strongest tier 2 range unit in the game.
Oh, Demon Hunter under fire again. Trying to force town portals as they are so expensive. The Paladin, oh, Demon! Whoa, so close, shifting the focus, takes out the mercenary, always good experience. And this seems like XiaoKai is a little bit left alone with the Kodo, with the headhunters.
Oh, Speed Scroll is able to save the Kodo, but is it really? Kodo goes down, another crucial loss from the Chinese team, and they're just little by little getting whittled down, especially against the amazing sustain of Priest and Paladin.
And all of a sudden the Demon Hunter is down. He was supposed to be the savior. LawLiet and Sok, one hand on the trophy. Level 2 Demon Hunter finally. If they keep the Archmage safe, if he provides more mana, it should be their game. They are 10 supply ahead and a hero up. All the advantages for the Night Elf human combo.
Yeah, the bears are coming in, but unfortunately they don't have the double rejuve of yesteryear. So actually the Chinese team is able to push the Korean team back, but I think that's mainly due to a conscious choice by the Korean team saying, hey, like, we're so far ahead, we don't have to keep pushing and potentially throw the game.
Exactly. Ooh, what are we working on? Bigger armies, better equipment, better levels. That FarSeer finally making it up to level 2 for the Chain Lightning, but mana is pretty rare. And there's the mana burn, so no Chain Lightning despite the skill available. Gotta be a little careful about Archmage and Demon Hunter, but there should be... is there enough mana? No, there's no Holy Light at the moment, but nice positioning. No chance to deal with these rifles.
Yeah, in LawLiet's base, we see something pretty cool and pretty cute. We have Mountain Giants again as the choice of tech. So we're going to see yet another Mountain Giant versus Bear combo.
Whoa. Okay. Will they answer? Will 15sui answer, or will it be bears again? So tough to deal with them as the Pally will reach the levels in no time. Fighting over every creep. Slippers, not a big impactful upgrade, but Devotion Aura absolutely is on top of a Protection Scroll that was popped here.
Yeah, Protection Scroll very valuable against lots of... there's basically no spell damage coming from the Chinese team side, so that's going to be very impactful. The Korean team is leveraging the duration of that Protection Scroll by pushing in, continuously killing bear after bear after bear. Who cares that bears theoretically counter Mountain Giants? Just the mass range army support from the Korean team is just doing so much against these druids.
Yeah, it feels like this XiaoKai army is really not the best to deal with it. The first MGs arrive at the scene. The upgrade is done perfectly. We can taunt for days now. Demon Hunter trying to escape. So hard to do. Hex to the rescue once again. But the standing army of Sok just rifles, never having to move away. Constant damage uptime. The concave is closing on the SH. And no heal wave was ready due to the Hex. Splits his legs, bites the dust. And they're getting further and further away here, LawLiet and Sok do.
Yeah, crucially, they're able to win all these skirmishes, and they're able to keep creeping all the creeps on the Chinese side of the map. The Chinese team feels very pressured in order to contest this, because if they don't, they're just going to be left without any XP whatsoever.
What's the way out now? Tri-Hero not up anymore. Low level for XiaoKai as a whole. He can't carry this. Can they even chew through the MGs? The Kodo certainly can't anymore thanks to the upgrades. They're getting nuked as well. The TC doesn't even have Stomp yet. And Archmage and Pally. Crazy levels.
Yeah, the Pally is really doing so much work. Typically in this scenario, I would say the way to come back is with hero kills, but with the Pally so beautifully controlled and always in the back, never getting in position to be targeted, we don't know how that's going to work out for the Chinese team.
And here we go. Headhunters all about to die. Bears all about to die. Now the Chinese retreat into the Night Elf base with the Moonwells. But it seems like it's just a matter of time as we have an expansion for Sok coming up on the left. Oh, for LawLiet actually 2 expansions according to the overlay. And attacked by Sok, I guess? Yeah, 4 mortar teams for the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, that's not a bug. LawLiet is actually putting 2 trees of life right next to each other. As he's just styling. LawLiet likes to style sometimes. I've noticed in 2's games where he feels like he's really dominating. And I would say this is certainly a point of domination. The 2 mountain giants in front are taking just so much damage. And we have the GG from the Chinese team, Sok and LawLiet. Sok especially takes revenge over his loss in the semifinals of the 1v1 tournament, and he's able to take this 2v2 championship.
Sick series, guys. That was awesome to watch and be a part of. The ping I did was actually a backpack mountain giant bringing over a staff of preservation and orb of venom to the army there of LawLiet. That was really cool. The double tree coming up as well was pretty funny, but also really smart, as it would be easy to go back after this push if they didn't want to end the game and just double expand. Sok with the tier 3 as well coming up as well, just to ensure they win that game. But in the end, wasn't needed. They absolutely dominated that fight. I was actually thinking, like, LawLiet just has a level 1 Demon Hunter. He doesn't look very strong. And of course, 15sui got his own level 3 as well. But 15sui's Demon Hunter with no items at all on that hero. Meanwhile, the level 1 Demon Hunter for LawLiet actually had a lot of great tankiness items, synergizing with the Paladin second, as we have seen through the entire series. And in the end, Sok pretty much carrying all of these engagements with LawLiet as the meat shield in front.
Wow, what a 2-on-2 tournament. The matches certainly delivered for the first time in 2 years. We had this tour and it was pretty nice. I feel like we could/should do this again. Monk, what do you think?
Well, I would certainly love to yet again wake up at 5 a.m. In order to cast these wonderful games. Not really even sarcasm. This was certainly a highlight of my week. And I would not have woken up at 12 p.m. like I normally do on the weekends in exchange for these wonderful games.
First grand final down, 1 more to come. The 1-on-1 is going to be a best of 7 between Happy and Focus. You mentioned it, Monk. You got up super early this entire weekend to support me and Quberte, and of course, Mr. Remo Demo here with the 2s providing great insight. But casting 2-on-2 Warcraft is not the only thing you do. You're working on a little game that got me the shirt here as well.
Oh, yes. I work actually at a small company called Frost Giant, and I'm currently working on a game called Stormgate, as you can see here. Wait, pointing my finger. Yeah, Stormgate. What is Stormgate? Stormgate is essentially what we feel is going to be the successor to Blizzard RTS. Basically, what happened is a bunch of us ex-Blizzard employees were like, hey, we want to make an RTS. So we formed our own company. We formed Frost Giant, and we are currently working on Stormgate, which is kind of the culmination of all our efforts. You can find out more about Stormgate at playstormgate.com, which Neo and Remo are so graciously showing on the screen right now. And if you want to help us, what you can do is you go on Steam, search Stormgate, and hit the wish list button, because that actually gives us a lot of exposure to everyone who would want to look at Stormgate, and it allows us to allow Steam to recommend Stormgate to everyone, whether they like strategy games or RTS games, or whether they just like games in general. Coming up very soon, I can't exactly share when, but we're going to actually show and reveal some gameplay. So if you wondered all these years, hey, what does Stormgate actually look like? Tune in very soon, TM, and you'll be able to see what exactly kind of RTS this is.
Ooh, that is interesting. After the first reveal, you were with us here on the broadcast. Would you join us after the next presentation again?
I would love to, Neo. Anytime I'm invited. Hey, maybe after that interview, we can cast another best of 69 of 2v2 yet again. Invite Starbuck and Crab, invite LawLiet and Sok back again.
Will do, will do. Monk, it was a great pleasure. People can follow you on Twitter at solid_monk. Is that correct?
You got it.
Nice. Wonderful. Now it's time to bring the Remo Demo Man back. If you have any final words, Monk, please.
Well, thanks. Just thanks for having me over this entire weekend, Neo. Thanks for casting with me, Quberte, as well. Thanks for carrying me in twos and helping me get all this knowledge. And also casting with me in the first semifinals. It was just a real pleasure to be here. I love doing game dev as all the time as well. But on the weekends, this can maybe I can make a career, a side gig career out of this casting gig.
Best of luck with that, as long as you don't steal my viewers and join us instead. I'm all for it. Monk, take care. We are getting ready for the big one-on-one grand final. It's Happy versus Focus in a best of 7 for the one-on-one championship, and we're gonna be right